You're obeying rules that you never consciously agreed to, and they're the reason you feel exhausted, even though you're doing everything right. If you're tired, overwhelmed, or carrying more than you were ever meant to, this episode is going to hit home. Because most high achievers are following silent rules, invisible expectations they inherited from family, religion, society, and culture. And these rules feel holy, but they create pressure instead of peace. Today, I'm exposing 4 silent rules that are running your life and how to tell instantly whether a thought is from God or just conditioning. Let's get into it. If you're new here, welcome to the Obedient Rebel podcast. This is where high-capacity leaders trade pressure for peace and learn how to succeed without running themselves ragged. If you want the full foundation of the Obedient Rebel way, including our creed, listen to episodes 1 through 4 after this one. So what are the silent rules? Silent rules are unspoken expectations that you inherited. You inherited them from so many different places: your family, your faith culture, society, your workplace environment, from trauma, from high-achieving environments. They can sound like, well, this is what a good person does. This is how responsible people act. This is the right way. They feel noble. They certainly feel familiar, and they even feel holy. But these are not spiritual laws. They're actually survival strategies that you've actually outgrown. And once you see them, you can't unsee them, and they can finally stop running your life. So let's unpack these 4 silent rules that are running you ragged. The first one is, if I don't hold everything together, it will all fall apart. The root of this rule is hyper-responsibility. The symptoms that come with obeying this rule are exhaustion, resentment, and pressure. This is what's also known as the Atlas complex. You remember Atlas, and he's the one who's holding the world on his shoulders? You became the glue, and then you forgot that you don't have to be. This is one rule that I have run like pretty much my whole life. I was parentified when I was about 8 through family trauma, and we all carry trauma. We all certainly have baggage. But one of the rules that I picked up was that it's my responsibility to hold it all together. My role in my family was the peacemaker, so I really had to hold everything together. And it helped me survive my childhood for sure, but it has absolutely come to bite me in the butt as an adult, and really as I'm trying to scale my relationships, my business, like everything, because you are the glue and you forgot you don't actually have to hold everything together. So this is how this rule has run my life, and certainly lately how it has shown up over the last couple of years. If I don't hold everything together, it will all fall apart. So I realized that, like with my family and in my business, like the root of this is hyper responsibility. I was taking responsibility for things that just were not mine. And I was holding other people accountable when they didn't ask me to hold them accountable first and foremost. I remember thinking, like, my gosh, why is my life the only life being turned upside down by everything? Like, you're tired, so you're taking a nap. How come I can't take a nap? Oh, well, it's because what was I waiting for somebody to give me permission to take a nap? But my guilt that was running and the pressure that I was putting myself under, that, oh my gosh, if I stop, everything's going to fall to pieces, prevented me from actually slowing down. This is one of the things that I've done to break this rule that I share with you in hopes that it will help you as well. And so what I did with this rule is I started believing like I actually can slow down, and I can trust what my body is telling me to slow down, no matter what the world is telling me about moving faster, or what my brain is telling me about I'm behind, or I'm going to lose this, that, or the other. Like, it really, I call it field work. So in the field, when you're doing this, we need to replace that frantic pressure of it's all going to fall apart unless I keep running with actually it runs just fine without me. And I can see all of the places in my life, actually, with people that are in my life, that things run really well even without my interference. And so as I started leaning more into that, gosh, it's been amazing about how I have literally, like, I physically slowed down in some areas, and also just refused to panic or hurry or rush, which has been really, really delightful. That if I need to go to bed early, then by golly, I'm going to go to bed early. And if I need to just take a break, then I take a break. Also trusting that only good can come of everything. And so if something slips through the cracks, like it's okay. Somebody will notice that it slipped through the cracks, even if it's not you. They'll bring it to your attention. And then you can decide whether you own that or not, or whether you're going to delegate that task or whatever to somebody else. It's just, it's really wonderful when you finally stop pretending that you're God. And I know that none of you consciously think that you're God. I certainly don't consciously think that I'm God, but why am I giving myself God responsibility that I have to make sure this planet keeps spinning or make sure that my world keeps spinning? Otherwise, what? Catastrophe happens. So yeah, like pull off on that hyper vigilance of responsibility. All right. And take what's yours and be in charge of what's yours. Responsibility is the ability to respond. And so if it's not yours to respond to, then don't respond to it. Another silent rule that is running you ragged. Number 2, peace comes after the to-do list. Now this rule is rooted in hustle identity. And of course, we live in a culture that glorifies the hustle, and that's just not working for me anymore. So I'm not going to work for it anymore. The symptom of this rule is that your nervous system is stuck in vigilance. And this rule makes peace a reward you can earn, not the baseline God designed you for. So why is this actually a rule that we really need to break right now? Because if your nervous system is stuck in vigilance, vigilance is survival. So if you are constantly on guard for danger, then you are constantly getting shots of adrenaline, shots of cortisol. Maybe you're waking up in the middle of the night like I was, and still do. On occasion, I'll wake up in, 3:00 in the morning with this unease or dread or this burst of like, everything's falling apart. And that's just the nervous system stuck in vigilance. That's the, oh no, if I don't do XYZ, I'm going to be so far behind. And then if I'm not holding it all together, everything's going to fall apart. Do you see how beautifully these rules like weave together to just keep you stuck in this pattern of overwhelm and exhaustion all the time? And so peace is not the reward. Peace is the baseline. God speaks to us in peace. He doesn't actually speak to us in pressure. He doesn't speak to us in fear. I would say sometimes God speaks to us in what feels like anxiety. I was talking with my daughter about this, and she runs in high anxiety. And so we've been working with her for years. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, apparently, because Mama tends to run at high levels of anxiety as well. So I can sniff it out really, really fast. But I asked her, does God speak to you with anxiety? And she was like, absolutely, he speaks to me with anxiety. And I was like, really? Like, what does that, how do you know that that's the Spirit? How do you know that's the Holy Spirit and not just like your mind? And she's like, well, I feel really uneasy about it. I feel like the blood drained from my face. So some of the things that she described, like certainly the Spirit can make us feel unsettled about something. The Spirit doesn't just say yes all the time. The Spirit gives us warnings too. But the warnings are not rooted in fear. They're not rooted in, not if it's from the Holy Spirit. If it's from the Holy Spirit, it's not going to be, if you do this, then punishment. That's not how the Spirit works. It will make you feel unsettled. It will make you feel uneasy. It will make you feel like something is off. But if we're stuck in, I have to complete all of this stuff before I can feel peace, your to-do list is never complete. Ever, ever, ever. We just keep adding to it. So then we become chasers of peace, right? Like peace gets to be the reward. No, peace is something that we receive. Peace is a decision, actually. Like if you want peace, decide that you have peace in your life and then make peace that priority rather than something that you're chasing, because then we're pressuring ourselves to feel peace, and we can't actually do that. We can't pressure ourselves into feeling peace. Those are two dichotomies, right? I hope I used that word right, like perimenopause. We're in full blown here. So I'm just going to make up words if I need to, or just put the word in that I feel like is the right word. But they're two, I mean, they are so polar opposites. It's like trying to lack think your way into abundance thinking. There's no way that you can do that. You can't, like, if you move the scale and you're like lack, scarcity, it's going to lead to more of that. It's never going to lead you to abundance. Pressure is never going to lead you to peace, because peace is on this side and pressure's on this side, and it's not taking you this way, it's taking you more that way. And so remember that peace is the baseline God designed for you. And peace is the way, it's the only thing that the adversary cannot mimic. He can't mimic peace. He can mimic relief, but peace and relief are not the same thing. And so make peace your top priority. And that's going to help. And when you do that, you're going to look for ways to reduce your nervous system. You're getting yourself out of your sympathetic nervous system, getting yourself into your parasympathetic, which just basically means getting yourself out of fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, and getting you into a state of calm and a state of peace. Like, you'll do the deep breathing, you'll do meditation, you'll go to gratitude, all of those things, so that you can lead with peace rather than hopefully chase peace. Because if you're chasing peace, you'll never actually find it. And if you do, you can't sustain it. You can't sustain it. All right, number 3, my success is measured by what I can endure. So the root of this is martyr conditioning, right? The symptom is burnout that's disguised as faithfulness. You learned to endure. God wants you to receive. Now we have this really wonderful phrase, endure to the end. But do you know, enduring to the end just means continually repeating the steps of the processes that lead you to peace, that lead you to God over and over and over again. That's enduring to the end. Last year in particular was all about how much I was enduring and success being measured by what I can endure. And I was in absolute burnout, on the verge of collapse, but I really did. And I didn't do this consciously, but I disguised it as faithfulness. Like, no, I just needed to show up for everybody. Again, all of these rules weave together into this really, really beautiful destructive pattern of survival energy. But I was doing a 2-day event called the Feminine Factor. And I loved doing this event. I might even bring it back. It was so rich. It was so fun. And I was on the verge of collapse. I was so burned out and I could not stop crying. I couldn't sleep. So that was certainly impacting my ability to process emotions and process thoughts, and was affecting my logic, was affecting all of it. And then I was just bursting into tears and I could not stop crying. And I had death wishes. Like, I just want to die. I just want to die, which I have since learned is suicidal ideation. So if you're having death wishes, even though you're like, I'm not suicidal like I am, like, because I'm not suicidal, but actually you are if you have death wishes. So definitely seek out help if you're having death wishes, or just really, wanting to be dead or gone or no longer existing. So somebody needed to hear that. I was not planning to share that on this episode, but I actually ended up in basically the mental health ER the day before this big 2-day event that I was running. I had a team that was helping to produce, but I was the show. And I was on for 2 days straight, going on no sleep and really wanting to die. And I was really afraid that they were going to keep me in that mental health ER, like they wouldn't let me go. I went in there voluntarily, but I was afraid they were going to put some sort of hold on me. The doctor that I talked to was like, we actually could admit you because you need to sleep. You need to sleep for a good 2 weeks. That's all you should be doing is sleeping. And I was like, no, I can't do that. And I remember telling her, I have the biggest performance of my life to do tomorrow. And it was entertaining and educating and helping and serving other high capacity women. I really had no business doing that. But my rule was my success is measured by what I can endure. And so it was like, okay, can I endure no sleep? Can I endure suicidal ideations? Can I be the dog and pony show for everybody? Can I hold it all together? Can I, and so a piece comes after the to-do list. Like, I gotta get all of this stuff done first and then I can sleep. It was that whole, I can sleep when I'm dead sort of thing, but I sure wish I was dead so I could sleep. And you know what? I actually I remember talking to my husband about this even throughout the year of oh my gosh. And then after that, our son got married and it was a wonderful occasion, but the stress that a wedding can bring. And literally the next day I packed and left for Italy to do a retreat for my clients that I was the whole show and the whole production. Again, I had to hold that space. So I was absolutely using this and I was in absolute martyr energy for it, but it was all right, how much more can I endure? How much more can I endure? And although there were moments of joy, certainly moments of light, more than anything else, there was just this heaviness to it. There was this sense of dread to it. And I would wake up in the morning with zero energy in my battery and being okay, Allyson, we can do this. We can do this. You have to do this. You have to do this because these women are counting on you. As if I wasn't in their life would fall apart. Talk about hyper responsibility right there and all of that. But really think about, how much do you actually martyr yourself? How much do you really think about how heavy things are and what you have to endure and equating that with success? Now, I'm still going through some of this. I'm almost through my wilderness, but there's still some residual wilderness vibes that I'm processing through. But if you're following me on Instagram at all, Allyson Chavez _, I'm actually training for a bodybuilding competition in the bikini category. So I'm posting every day about my ride with that. I don't want to share the journey, and I'm not going to be your fitness guru, and I'm not going to be your sexy influencer or any of that. This is about who am I becoming, and what can I have higher devotion in my body, what I put into it, my output in my body, can I get closer to God? It's just all this stuff. It's so much bigger than a bodybuilding competition. But I work out, and I work out hard. And I share some of my workouts on my Instagram, on Facebook, and TikTok. And I never think in my workouts, I just got to endure this. 5 more reps, just 5 more reps. Now, I do think 5 more reps, or I do think, okay, I'm close, but I don't ever think I just got to endure to the end of this workout. That would make the workout exponentially heavier than it needs to be. My workouts are hard. I lift heavy. I leave it all out on working out. I love it. So there is no martyr energy coming off of me whatsoever when I'm working out, because I'm not equating endurance with success. I'm equating, wow, what are my limits, and can I expand just a little bit beyond my limits, and can I actually sculpt my body without going crazy in my mind and getting body dysmorphia more than I already have it. There's so many beautiful lessons that I'm learning about me and about God and all of this through this experience. But I'm measuring my success not by what I can endure, but who am I becoming through these hard things that sometimes just come at us, sometimes come because of our choices, sometimes come because of other people's choices. All right, so I've kind of beat that rule number 3 to death. Let's go to rule number 4 that absolutely keeps you run ragged. And can I just say that with this rule, I have so much relief, because I have talked to so many other people that are obeying this rule, and it's not just me. The rule is saying no means disappointing someone. Now, the root of that rule is people pleasing as survival. The symptom is boundary collapse. You've been managing other people's emotions instead of managing your obedience. And this one is huge. And I have talked to high capacity women, huge responsibility in their roles, business owners, founders, CEOs, making lots of money. And the majority of them have this boundary issue. And I'm like, oh, it's not just me. Thank you so much. All right, now let's break this rule. Like we have to break this rule, because this rule is going to keep you bowing to culture and bowing to society's pressure, even when in your mind you're like, why the freak am I doing this? I don't even want to do this. Because what we have been conditioned to do, especially if you're a woman watching this and a faith-based woman at that, is we have actually been conditioned to regulate everybody's emotions before ours. And so it makes our boundaries really, really wobbly. And I knew I had this issue. I had actually healed a layer of this issue, but there was a deeper program running with this, which maybe I'll share the story in another episode, but it was freaking intense how I discovered this program that was still alive and well and not just thriving, but taking over everything. And it was this people pleasing as survival. And I realized before I would actually speak my mind, because if I'm speaking my mind, it's going to make somebody else uncomfortable because I got a beef with somebody else's behavior. All right. So I'm just going to be straight with you. So I'd have a beef with somebody's behavior, particularly like family members or people that I had hired that weren't actually delivering what they told me they were going to deliver. But I would run through worst case scenario in my mind, every possible, so I could have a defense for them saying, yeah, but you this, yeah, but you that. And then it was like, don't make them uncomfortable. Don't make them uncomfortable. Don't hurt their feelings. Oh, it was so crazy. And then it was even like, what if you did hurt her feelings? What is she going to think of you? It just flared in me so big when I finally spoke what was on my mind, because it had the potential to make somebody else uncomfortable, until I was like, this rule, I am no longer going to obey this rule. This rule it brings everybody peace except for me. And I was like, why? Okay, first of all, why is it my responsibility that somebody else feels peace in their life? It's not. It's not my responsibility, because if you don't do your work to feel peace, then no matter what I tell you, you're not going to feel peace. So why am I taking responsibility, and why am I trying to manage somebody else's emotions? Even deeper than that is I'm robbing somebody of the opportunity to manage their emotions and to feel things that are uncomfortable, and then to decide what to do with those feelings, because I was just absorbing them and taking them all on me. And then I'm resentful, and I was angry, and I was pissy, and I was and trying to hide it, right? Trying to hide it. And then I was just like, no, I'm not going to obey this rule any longer. So what does this look like in the field? What's the field work for this? I really had to remind myself that this is not my job to make sure everybody else feels comfortable all the time, especially at the expense of my own peace. Now, does that mean that I'm obnoxious and in somebody's face? No, I'm not wired to be obnoxious and, F you into your face. I'm not wired that way. I'm wired to be kind. I'm also wired to be nice, which is no boundaries. Nice has no boundaries. Don't be nice, be kind. So I was like, you know what? They get to feel what they're going to feel. They're free to feel that. They get to think that I am the XYZ and I do this and that. They're going to think that anyway. And they get to. They are free to feel that way. And I give myself the permission to speak my mind with grace and confidence and stay steady in myself. Because the only emotions that are my responsibility to regulate are my own. And I'm going to say that again. The only person that I'm responsible for regulating emotions is me, the emotions that I am experiencing. Other people are responsible to regulate their emotions. That has actually been the most liberating rule that I have broken in the recent past. And it has just opened up so much relief and so much joy that I didn't realize I was keeping myself from. And guess what? My family members haven't been super happy with all the conversations I've had. And that's okay too. That is 100% okay too. because they're set in kindness and love and directness and clarity and confidence. They just get to manage how they're going to manage. I would invite you to break all of those rules, but if there's one to start with, number four would be the one to start with. So let's talk about why these rules actually feel holy, but they aren't. Silent rules sound like obedience. Love your neighbor. Do good to those who despitefully use you and persecute you. I'm thinking of these scriptures that are just coming to my mind right now. They sound like obedience, but the fruit of that is pressure. And another way to describe fruit in scriptures is result. The result is that is pressure. God's direction actually brings peace. It brings clarity, it brings order, and it brings alignment. So if it's not bringing those things, this is probably a rule worth breaking, because silent rules generally bring guilt, confusion, panic, and striving. So if the rule produces pressure, that's not from God. And that's conditioning. It's usually pressure to perform or behave in a certain way so that other people are happy instead of you. How many times do we allow our own feathers to get ruffled and really hold back about ruffling anybody else's feathers because they might not be happy with our perspective or with our experience, right? Or with our needs. I mean, basically what it was is I wasn't sharing my needs until I was so mad that my needs weren't getting met. There's no need, and it doesn't bless anybody's life for you to hold back like that until you're suddenly just like bursting. And then there's apologies that need to be said and words you wish you could take back. And if you're just kind and direct and you let other people manage their emotions while you manage yours, everybody is empowered that way. All right. So when you are coming up against a rule or against a should, all right, ask yourself, does this bring peace? Does this bring clarity? Does this make me more myself? Or does it create pressure, panic, or performance? If it brings pressure, remember, it's not from God. God's signature is stillness, not panic. And stillness, there can be so much communicated in stillness. Stillness is not silence. Stillness is just, it's quiet. It's quiet within ourselves. That's how God speaks to us, is through stillness, is through whispering. So how do we step out of these rules? How do we break these rules and return to peace? Anytime that you find yourself obeying one of these silent rules, and the way that you can tell is just be in awareness, lots of awareness, zero judgment, and now zero tolerance for that. Name the rule. That's the first thing to do. Name the rule. Oh, this is me people pleasing. Oh, this is me measuring success by what I can endure. This is me being a martyr. Name the rule. Hand it back. Literally tell yourself, no, I'm done with this. I'm done with this rule. Hand it back. Hand it back to society. Hand it back to culture. Hand it back to whoever it is that is imposing that rule upon you in that moment. So for me, like I was imposing those rules upon me, but it was the shadow version of me. So I'm just like, actually, no, that's you. I'm going to hand that back to you, shadow side of me, because I'm leaning more into the light and my higher self. And I'm going to obey those rules instead. God's laws, rather than these rules that fear is making up for me. So nope, I'm done. So that's the second part. No, just literally give it up. Hand it back. Breathe. Deep, slow breaths. Do 3. I like the power of 3. And then ask God, what are you actually asking of me right now? You can even say, God, what's actually going on right now? There's a learning in this for me. There's a learning in this for me. What am I to learn right now? This is how you trade pressure for peace and realign with his voice. And so easy to do when you will be in awareness and when you will let your measurement of success be how closely aligned you are with God and your higher self. So if you are listening and thinking, oh, dang, I think I've been obeying the wrong rules. You're not the only one. Send me a DM on Instagram, Allyson Chavez _ with the word peace, and I will reach out and send something that will open that door for you. And before you go, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with somebody who is carrying more than they're meant to. We spread the obedient rebel message one awakened leader at a time. We'll see you in the next episode.